welcome to another Dakman Productions podcast. And yes, I'm doing a podcast a little sooner than I normally do. I usually span them out a little bit. But there was a lot that happened since the last podcast. So the first things first, my camcorder had actually unfortunately quit working. So I had it since I bought it in 2012, so I guess I can't complain too much, but it broke. So I had to scramble and find another camcorder that I liked and prefer to use. So I'm testing out my new camcorder for this video, so let me know how you like it. This camcorder has more features on it that I like. It will actually record in MP4 format. So converting the video, I don't have to do that anymore. So that should save me some time. Because the previous camcorder used to record in HCHD, I don't know. HCHD, I think. But it was a format that was kind of like hard to work with and had to be converted over to an MP4 file. So I worked with it since 2012, and honestly I was looking to upgrade the camcorder anyway. I was thinking maybe a GoPro. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but when it finally failed and broke, then I knew I had to do something quickly, because without a camcorder I'm pretty much out of business. So cell phones are only good for certain video footage, but you can't get video with a cell phone like you can with a camcorder. A sample would be, or example would be, if you're panning in on something and you want to zoom back out, well, it's kind of hard to get that video on your cell phone to smoothly zoom out or zoom in. So it's usually jumpy going in or out, unless you have one of them $2,000 cell phones. I don't know, but I'd rather have the camcorder over a $2,000 cell phone, which I couldn't afford. But the camcorder seems to have features I like. One of the features I like or read about this particular camcorder is that it will continue to record when you close the door, which is what my other one would not do. So I experimented with it. I started shooting video, and I closed the door, and it continued to record. This is very good news, and here's why. Because with the door closed, now I can take that camcorder, put it on a flatbed car, close the door after I start recording, and we can go for a ride on Conahey Rail with a camcorder, and we can do a nice ride on with a flat car. So I'm excited about that. So it's probably the next video you're going to see is taking a ride on Conahey Rail. So I'm excited about that. Let's see how that comes out. I did order a webcam Lionel Conrail Extendovision caboose. The camera sticks out of the cupola of the caboose, and you can actually view it on a screen, or you can actually record it. I heard some people complain about the quality of video. I'm not really concerned about that. I think it's still a cool piece. So I guess if you're expecting, 720 HD or 1080 HD quality, you're not going to have it with those cabooses. But the Conrail version is supposed to be out by the end of this year, so I am excited about that. But in the meantime, I guess the next best thing I can do is take my new camcorder, load it up on a flatbed, and we can take a ride. So I'm excited about that, being able to finally do, because I've been wanting to do some kind of video where you're riding on one of my trains, or it looks like you're riding on my trains, you're just going through the whole layout. So I think that would be pretty cool to do something like that. And maybe even do, let's say we put the camcorder on a flatbed, and we do some switching operations. You can see the different trains being switched around. I mean, the ideas are endless when it comes to that sort of deal. So, and plus, I can take it to shows with me and ask the club members, "Hey, can you take my camcorder on a ride on your train and maybe go around the club layout?" I think that'd be great too. So I'm so excited about this camcorder being able to record while the doors closed, because now they can fit through tunnels and stuff like that with no problem. And it's nice and compact. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Of what I can bring you guys from this point in time into the future. So, yeah. Even, the G-scale fans, the O-scale fans, yeah, I can load up the camcorder on a flat car, gondola. You guys can take it for a ride, and I can include that in the video now. So, we'll see how that goes. Moving forward, now that I got my camcorder, new camcorder, we're up and running again. I've been sort of like celebrating for the last week. As you guys seen, I posted a video of me attending the truck show last weekend, and I tell you, I had a blast. I went to the South Jersey second annual truck show, Shining Show. It was held at the New Jersey Motorsports racetrack in Millville, New Jersey. And the main thing about that event is I really wanted to drive on the racetrack. That was the only thing I was really worried about at the time. So, of course, I had to ask the owner, who actually owns the truck, which is a 1995 Ford L9000 with a 3406E Caterpillar engine, which is kind of unique to a truck like that, because normally they would come with a 3176B Cat or an M11 Cummins. So, but this truck is not really a show truck. It's actually used on a farm, hauling grain, hauling soybeans, hauling hay. So it does work. And when I got it, boy, it needed a lot of work. So I asked the owner, because this was the first year that they were doing trophies. Last year I attended, they didn't do any trophies, but so it was just show. And then this year they decided to do trophies to attract more people to the event. So I asked the owner, I said, "Look, can I take your truck back to the truck show again?" He says, "Absolutely." And I was a little hesitant to ask him. I said, "But you know what? I gotta ask him, because this is something I really want to do." So I just looked at him straight face, and I didn't even hesitate. I said, "Do you mind if I take your truck and race it on the racetrack?" And he looks at me, he says, "Sean, you can do whatever you want with that truck." I'm like, "Wow, okay, thank you." So I spent, as you guys seen in the video that I made about the event, I spent 3 nights, 4 hours a night, working on this truck, because it was bad. Cleaning it, detailing it, painting it, the frame, the fuel tanks, the engine. The truck was rough, but I was pretty happy with the end results after I got it done. So I took it out to the racetrack, and as a kid, you guys heard me probably, if you've seen the other videos, you probably heard me mention this, but as a kid, I used to watch a race called the GATR, which stands for Great American Truck Racing. Basically what that is, it's the NASCAR version of oval racing, except it's for trucks. Peterbilt's, Kenworth's, International, so forth and so on. Not pickups like the pickup truck race, but actually for big rigs, So it was called the Great American Truck Race. And I used to watch that, when I was a kid, up into the, 80s. And then finally I'm like, wow, that'd be so cool to race a truck around a racetrack. And my uncle's like, "You're crazy." He says, "Trucks aren't meant for racing, they're meant for pulling freight. That's just a waste of truck," and blah, blah, blah. So I'll never forget that. But, I'm still watching it, and I still like watching that race. of oval trucks. And if you ever watched Smokey and Abandoned 2, it shows the snowman driving a GMC General with a Detroit-powered two-stroke engine, by the way. And it shows him racing on an oval track. That's the opening of the movie. He's actually driving his truck around an oval track. He's racing it. So that's part of the, what I'm trying to tell you guys, that was for real. They did really race these big rigs on an oval track. So it came time to, I was pretty excited for this racetrack event. And what made this event a little bit different is that it was a road course instead of an oval track. And it was a road course that was meant for race cars, not for big rigs. So it was never built for that. So the pace car driver came up and he talked to me. He says, look, you got to do this. You got to stay to the right. There's a low bridge. They coned it off. And he's giving me all these tips and warnings and stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. I got it. I got this. And, we got out on a racetrack and it was paced. It was paced like a real like it was a race. You know what I mean? There was a pace car, and he was pacing us out there. And first round we went kind of slowish. We're right around 55, 60 miles an hour in certain spots. We're down to 40 in the curves. The hairpin curves, it took a little slower, right around 30. First round, and then after the first lap, I got to see where the curves were at, and okay, now we can hammer down from there. And and everybody was asking how fast did you get that thing up to us. Well, you guys see the video, but certain areas I was able to get that thing up to 70 miles an hour. At one point in time, one of the laps I was doing 60 going through the pits. I was a little hot because I forgot the pits. There was cones and you had to make a sharp left. Exiting the pit, so I had to fan the brakes, get her out there. But there was a stretch of area where I could get her up to 70 miles an hour, and I just had a blast driving on that track, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. You got to sign a waiver, of course. There's no insurance if anything happens to you. Blah blah blah, and they tell you all that, and you sign a release form. And I was good with all that. I really didn't care. I just was happy being out there and doing the one thing that I really wanted to do, and that was to race that truck around the racetrack. We got 3 laps. He was talking about 4 or 5, but we got 3 laps, and I was happy with that. And so, just that alone, and I recorded dash cam footage, and I made a video of it called Thunder of Trucks on the New Jersey Motorsports Racetrack. So if you want to see that video, it's a little long. It's about half hour long. And the reason why I made it so long is because I wanted to include a lot in that video. I wanted to make it a little personal touch. The dash cam footage alone was 20 minutes. So if you guys remember my rules, or my opinion, that a clip is around 8 minutes long. A video's up to 15, 18 minutes long. Anything after that is a movie. So that's what I did. I made a movie out of it. And then I wanted to make it, a personal touch on this movie. I wanted to include, the beginning scenes of what the truck looked like and what I was doing in the garage, and explaining to you how I liked watching the GATR, Great American Truck Race, and so forth and so on. Then it switches to dash cam footage of me driving out there, and then I'm racing along this track, and then I have somebody out in the grandstands and they're shooting video out there too. And then coming back again. And, I was happy with that. I really was. If nothing else, that was the one thing I really wanted to do. And my family says, okay, you got that out of the way off your bucket list. I guess you can, you don't need to do that anymore. Nope. If they have it next year, I'm going back out there again. I am. So, yeah, it's off my bucket list, but if they offer doing it, I would do it again. So I entered it into the actual truck show. There was multiple categories. The category that I entered it into was 1980 to 1999 day cabs. In the beginning of the movie, I mistakenly say 1999 to 2008, but that was not the case because actually it's a 95 truck, so it would not be allowed in that category. So I just made a note in my description that I said it wrong, but I say it correctly at the end of the video. So I entered into the that category for showing, and when the lady asked me, "Do you want to show it to?" and I said, "You know what? I poured a lot of work in this truck. Look at it happen. You know what I mean? I might not place, might take third. Whatever happens, happens. I was just happy being on a racetrack." And sure enough, I got called for first place, and I was super happy. I picked up my trophy, and I'm just looking at it, and I can't believe it because I used to, and I think you guys watched my first podcast, but I was actually into going to car shows from 1990 to the year 2000. And I had a 1970 Dodge Challenger RT that was all original. The only thing I had to do was repaint it, a little bit of body work, interior work, go through the engine, stuff like that. And that car was a multiple trophy winner. I mean, everywhere I went with that car, I would win a trophy. And I think it was around 95 or 96 in that era that, I wanted to win a national event. So I went all out, and I made sure everything was correct. And I made sure that everything was the way it should have been from the factory. So that car came with hubcaps. Of course, the hubcaps had to go back on it. So whatever that car came with was on that car. Right down like you just bought it. So I ended up winning Best of Show in 95 or 96. One of those. I mean, it was a tall trophy, and I was so happy. But I noticed the judge was struggling between my car and a 1970 Hemi Cuda. He was going back and forth, and he went back and forth for like 10, 15 minutes. And he's struggling because it's all by points. When you're in a national event, it's all by points. So, like, let's say if your distributor cap's not correct, that's a point. Or if your radiator cap's not correct, that's another point. So the person who ends up with the most points in the end, wins. So it was really important. They even judged the stickers. You had to have the correct glycol antifreeze sticker on there that had to say the Mopar emblem on there, or if that was a point. So yeah, car shows got insane. So it was between me and this Hemi Cuda, and then finally, I'm like, okay, well, this is only going one way. I'm either going to win or not. And I got called for Best of Show. And it blew me away. I mean, that was another great day for me. And so I found a judge, and I said, look, I have to know what happened. What made you decide for my car? And he looks at me, he says, it was tough. He says, you guys are both all original. I had to find something. He says everything was correct. Except for one thing. You won by 1 point. I'm like, wow, was that close? He says, yes, it was close. He says, there was one thing that got you that trophy. I said, okay, tell me. I got to know. He says, your clock. I'm like, my clock? He goes, yes. Okay, explain that to me. He says, your clock's original, isn't it? I said, yeah. Well, the Hemi Cuda had a quartz clock, or a quartz conversion done on his clock. I said, how do you know that? He said, the quartz conversion has a smooth needle movement. Yours are still going tick, 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 because it uses points. I'm like, yeah, you're correct, because I clean them up to get the clock working. And so I never converted it. I was thinking about it, but I never did. He says, well, that's what got you the trophy. I'm like, wow, that was close. So the last year I showed the car was in 2000. Like I said, I won multiple events with it. And by that time, I was tired of the politics of car clubs and among other things. And I decided that was it. I'm done with this. Parked the car, and that was it. I had a Charger SC. I ended up selling that to a buddy of mine. But at any rate, it's been 19 years since I competed in any kind of show and won anything. So that was another thing. It's like it's been 19 years. The last time I showed my car, which did belong to me, I owned it, was in 2000. So 19 years later, to bring a truck to a truck show, my first time competing and winning a trophy, bar none, that was the best day I've had in a long time. It really was. I was so happy. Just couldn't imagine being happy out on a racetrack, being happy getting first place of the trophy. There was nothing better that could have happened that day at all. So I came back with the truck, and I know what you guys are thinking. Well, since it's not your truck technically, and it belongs to somebody else, who kept the trophy? I did. And the owner understands because I put the work into it. I spent my own money entering it, and that was part of the deal. The deal was that he lets me have the truck to do whatever I want with it. The labor that I do to this truck is all free. He doesn't get charged for any of it. So the cleaning, the painting, anything I do to this truck is all free of charge. The only thing he's got to pay for is any materials or supplies, but the labor is totally free. And I pay to get the truck into the show. So that was part of the deal. So technically, I kept the trophy. I showed the truck. I put all the work into it. So it sits with the rest of my trophies from years ago in my one room. So moving on from there, Conahey Rail. I haven't really had time to spend with it. I spent probably 3 weeks away from trains all in general, preparing for the truck show, then going to the truck show, then doing the video. I did a little write-up for the company so they could put out a company newsletter. And then basically I celebrated all week long. And why not? I thought I deserved a week of celebration of having this day. So I'm going back to doing things on Conahey Rail again. I still got a couple shows yet that I want to attend this year. And we'll be doing more videos of Conahey Rail, like I said. And hopefully getting you guys some video of riding on the rails on a flat car. So that's the future plans. I still want to buy the auto dealership and building and put that together and have like a little small dealership. Currently, I haven't even gotten to it yet, but I'm building a little garage for a stock car, race car in memory of my grandfather. And that's going to go next to the gas station. So, those are plans right now. I'm thinking of buying a Penn Central locomotive because I want to do the early Conrail years, what they call the rainbow years. So, I'm thinking along the lines of a U30C that Lionel did to go with my Conahey Rail U30C. So it'd be like Conahey Rail first taking over of Penn Central. So, and I do have some Penn Central stuff that I got thrown in there, so I could easily do an early transition era of Conahey Rail on Conahey Rail. I'm still trying to save, in the meantime, for the modern stuff, because I do want to have more modern trains than what you would see today. I'm still working on that. I'm still leaning to Union Pacific, even though there's people out there who don't like Union Pacific, but I'm still leaning towards Union Pacific, the AC 44, maybe an SD70 ACE, both flag locomotives. So that's what I'm thinking of right now of using. I want to put together a reefer train in the future using the Union Pacific locomotives. I also want to put together a crude oil train using the Union Pacific locomotives. And so those are the plans for the Union Pacific stuff. And then maybe a mixed modern train as well. But I'm really looking forward to putting together a reefer train, a mechanical reefer train, which would be as modern as you can get. You see these guys running a woodside reefer or an ice hatch reefer behind a modern locomotive like an SD40, but prototypically, those pieces were already gone when the SD40 was around. So mechanical reefers has been around since the 70s, early 60s. Lionel makes them, the 57-foot mechanical reefer, and Weaver used to make them when they were still in business, 57-foot mechanical reefer. Lionel did buy the Weaver molds, and they're using the Weaver molds to also continue on the 57-foot mechanical reefer. So I hope to collect enough of them to have a unit train of them as well sooner or later. But as you guys know, this stuff is expensive, so it's not cheap. So it takes a little time to do all this because I don't get sponsored or anything like that. I just use my free funds from work and for Conahey Rail or my NPC era stuff. And speaking of which, I'm still playing around with Dakman Productions shirts, as you see here, like this. Selling them on Facebook or opening up a Facebook store. I was talking about doing it for this year, but things got out of hand between family and between work and doing other things and trade shows and Conahey Rail. There was big, huge updates on Conahey Rail, so I'm thinking I would probably have more time to do the sale thing next year or starting in 2020. So if you guys are interested in Dakman Production shirts, what I would do is I would put one design up at a time in limited amounts and say, okay, I'm selling 100 of these or 50 of these. What do you guys want? And go from there. I've been trying to strike a deal with UPS, or not UPS, but the Postal Service, the USPS, trying to keep the cost down on shipping these things, and I got a lot of input from them as well on how to do that to keep the cost down, so you guys can enjoy these, and that should help my channel out a little bit if I can sell this stuff, the different shirts. So that's I'm still not shying away from that idea. It's just that I couldn't get it off the ground because of too much other things is going on, updating Conahey Rail and so forth and so on. But I definitely want to do it next year and probably open up a Facebook store, and you guys can check that out. But that are the future plans. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Like I said, I wanted to the main thing was to test my new camcorder, and I had a whole bunch of things I wanted to talk to you guys about anyway. And if you guys want to run on Conahey Rail, and you're in the South Jersey area or near the South Jersey area, come on board and run. The last video I released was we were running a Weaver brass locomotive Union Pacific Challenger on Conahey Rail. The locomotive was conventional, unfortunately, and the only place it could run, because I do have a traditional layout, but that only has 048 curves on it, I believe. I think they're only 048 is the widest curve the traditional layout has, with 036 being the smallest. So, unfortunately, the only place it could run is on the new main line of Conahey Rail, but that was geared up towards all TMCC or legacy only. So what I did for him is I cut or spliced in plugs to the layout so I could use either TMCC or a conventional transformer on it. And I finished it up while he was there waiting. So we were able to put that Union Pacific Challenger on the layout and use a conventional transformer. Of course, I had to take all my locomotives off before I did that, so they wouldn't be charged up or got that kind of power, because you don't want to run a legacy locomotive on an old school ZW. So that's what we powered it up with. I have an old ZW power pack, and we powered it up with that and ran it. And we were pretty impressed with it. It was a really nice locomotive. It had a flashing Mars light on it. I'm glad he brought it here to run. That's the first time we got to run a steam locomotive on Conahey Rail, and that was the first time that he ran that locomotive. So it was a first for everybody. And so it was nice to see that it could maneuver around, because I always wanted to have a big locomotive on my layout to make sure something that big could fit without hitting anything, the walls, or did I get it too close to here, is it the right amount of space? The only trouble area it looked like we had was in the one main tunnel, and it looks like you can't have a train on the inside main in the tunnel with a big locomotive on the outside, because when it comes through, it does hit its close quarters. So that was the only hitch. So we moved the train out of the way out of that tunnel, but everywhere else it cleared and was fine. So if you got a Union Pacific big boy, I would like to see that run on here. But the Challenger did fine. It cleared everything, and it was a scale-size locomotive. It wasn't semi-scale. This is a true full-scale Challenger. So it was awesome to see that thing run on my layout. I just enjoyed that locomotive. And like I said, if you guys have something you want to run, right now, Lionel TMCC, Lionel Legacy, Atlaso with TMCC, and K-Line with TMCC, and of course now I'm set up to do conventional in case you have something, a big locomotive that only conventional, I can accommodate you as well. The only thing I still cannot do is MTH DCS, because having two systems right now isn't very affordable to me. And I got a whole bunch of pre-orders out there, and so they come first. But once again, thanks for watching this podcast. I held you guys up long enough, and we'll see you guys later. See ya.